Welcome back. Episode 4 of All 22, a Thanksgiving edition, so a little bit earlier this week, but trying to get out some key plays from the Packers' victory over the Chargers. What can they do and perhaps improve some of these plays or put some of the plays back, in terms of they look good. I mean, the first time the offense has had a 300-yard passing game in 31 games, choose. The offense was good, even though they probably didn't have as many points as we would like, kind of still stuck on 23 despite having a lot of yards.
That's fine. I mean, there's a nice thing to see this week. There were yards after catches. Wicks had a few nice runs. They made plays. They seemed more comfortable. Doesn't seem like they're making as many mistakes mentally. So let's take a look and see what we got.
All right, our first play that we have here, Chew. It is earlier in the game, and it is a play where one of the plays from my guys that I've really liked, Dontavian Wicks, his first catch. It's a 2nd and 15, and the Packers end up gaining 29 yards. So you got a little emotion there, and again, a little bit of an extended play, and like Wicks just kind of finds that soft spot. So this is, I think, kind of the next evolution of the offense. Of the reason why I picked this play is because we've seen the Packers try to play within rhythm, within structure. And what made them dangerous with Aaron Rodgers is they were able to play within structure, outside of structure. So this was a really good throw that we'll see from the other angle here. Just kind of a cool throw, and I thought it was a cool play for the Packers to be able to play outside the structure and still be able to get a big play.
All right, the key here is Kraft. I believe that's Kraft getting up the field very quickly. All right, and this is just a simple. It's a simple dagger route. That's what they call it. So where there's a clear out on the inside receiver, who's a viable receiver, he should get the ball against cover 2. Even though it is cover 2, he gives himself a chance. That's more of a Tampa 2 look, Gabe. You see how the middle linebacker turns and runs immediately with the tight end, but that leaves a window open for Wicks to come underneath. The nice thing we saw last week, Christian Watson on a route against zone continue to that third window and get covered up. Against zone, Wicks stops in the hole, which he's taught to do. Against zone, you stop in the hole. Against man, you run. It was just what I see here is they're starting to get it, right? Kraft knows he's not getting the ball, but he knows he's very important because he has to clear it out for Wicks coming in on the inside. The only thing I would tell Wicks, he kind of showed his route a little too early. If you look, he turned his shoulders. If that was a good linebacker, he possibly could have made a play on him. He needs to just keep his speed through the route, have that linebacker thinking that he is running a corner route or something like that, and then just come around and make it look a little more natural. But that's nitpicking. Great play. Jordan Love, good read. Protection seemed to be very good, and they're starting to get it, which is nice.
So the next play we have a little bit later in the game, this is a 3rd and 12 that the Packers ended up picking up. This one to somebody who probably had maybe his best game when you factor in all the yards that he ended up having between the run and the pass, and that's Jaden Reed. So Reed ended up having kind of a big day, and here's one of his big plays on a 3rd and 12, picking up 17 yards. So he was in the slot on the bottom.
So this is straight man. This is just a hook. All right. He is the number 1 read here. I used to run this route quite a bit. You can run it either way. But it's just the nice thing about his route here is he comes back to the ball. Right? So many young guys just take it to the top of the stem and then stop and wait for the ball. What makes this throw is he comes back for the ball. It's a balanced route. So if you look, 2 guys in the flats, 2 guys running go routes on the inside, and he's the number 1 read, runs a great route, straight man, makes a play.
Yeah, and what I liked about this as well, because I think on previous television broadcasts I've heard, and you've kind of talked about this with some of the route running, where they sell the route too early. What I like here, when you go back, you just see how he gets up the field. Like, he just books it up the field, and he's able to stop quickly to kind of create that separation. And again, I slowed it down a little bit here. You know,
See,
he's
he
just
should know.
busting it
He
up.
knows right away it's man. And the thing that, Gil Haskell, our receivers coach, um, when I played is he would always emphasize closing that gap on whether it's man to man, having the defensive back covering you. Defensive backs are very comfortable when they have space, when they have a guy in front of you. They get very jittery when you start to close that gap. We would call it step on the DB's toes. And that's essentially what he did there. The nice thing, the coaching point, I think that is number one when it came to that play is him coming back to the ball.
This is the Christian Watson touchdown, and it may not be any route concept I guess we're familiar with, Drew, just because Matt LaFleur after the game said, hey, we had a coverage that we knew we liked, and we kind of just drew this one up in the dirt on the sideline. It ends up being Christian Watson's touchdown where he ends up kind of running a drag route, just kind of all across the defense to get open in the back corner of the end zone. Christian to the right of the quarterback or the bottom of the screen. And they're just able to use his speed here.
See, he's not the number one route on this. I think it's the number one receiver in the concept is the tight end. That's just Y stick. That's typical Y stick up to the left. My only thing, it's a great drawn up in the dirt, but they have to be careful because I'm starting to see tendencies with these receivers in their splits. Okay, because he's tight there, right? They have him boxed in. Okay, the safety, if he breaks in, has him, and if he breaks out, the corner would take him. The only thing I would say with this formation, if they come back this week, Gabe, if you could stop it, if he's got to run to the opposite side, he's got to start disguising his splits. Okay, so if there's a run opposite side, put your split outside the number, just to see something different, because that's what defensive down the line. But I'm starting to see it in the last couple of games. They're not tying their splits in to the run game, right?
Okay.
I think that's the next level of things they have to start disguising. But he's the third read on this route. Number one is the Y tight end, which would be Musgrave. 2 is Kraft, and he just go back. Is this a play? One more time. They're just trying to put that outside linebacker in a bind,
and they do.
So they cover it well. He had a viable throw to Kraft, but the nice thing about it is Kraft got into the flat really quickly, which holds that linebacker from falling off onto the deeper route. And that's what makes this play work.
Beautiful pass, beautiful play for the Packers. Yeah. This is the only incompletion I have of the week, just to kind of get what you think, because it looked like the play worked, and Jordan just unable to find Luke Musgrave up the sideline for this next one. So just kind of what you think worked, didn't work here on the play. We'll keep it kind of in the slower motion here just to see if you can diagnose what went right or went wrong here for the Packers.
This is just a game plan thing they saw early in the week where they figured if they get into this formational set, which is just a double wing, that they would draw a man against this defense. That's just on Jordan Love throwing it. The only thing I would say about Musgrave is his release was a little sloppy, Take
a look at it from this angle.
Which slowed him up a little bit, which is fine. At the end of the day, I don't know why that 45, this is why they're the 30th ranked defense in the league. Why in the world 45 is peaking in the backfield if he's man. That was just a mismatch they like. Where they had it, Jordan just overthrows it just a little bit. So
just a little bit more air underneath that football?
A little more air because there's no one there. If you look, there's no threat of safety help. But that's it's not really a gadget play, but that's just something they saw during the week in film study where they knew that was a mismatch, 45 against Musgrave. But across the board, it looks, it's good. The other thing, Gabe, and I know we've only looked at 5 plays, a lot of double wing. That's another thing they have to change up formationally. So double wing is just a balance. It's 2 and 2.
Yeah.
Which they get to here.
I mean, is that they just have to mix up more formations, and otherwise kind of defenses figure out what you're going to be running out of those formations?
Sure. But that's a play you come back to. You don't run it this week because it is kind of a mini gadget play, but that's something you keep in the back pocket for, games down the line. But you could just see from a technical standpoint, they're getting better. The only thing, and I think they're starting to figure it out, that, hey, even though I'm not getting the ball on this play, I still affect the play tremendously. And that's what I'm seeing the difference in this game as opposed to when we started watching this 4 or 5 weeks ago.
So this final one we're going to take a look at is the Romeo Doubs touchdown. And the reason why I picked this play is because maybe he was right, maybe he was wrong. I'm not sure. But Mark Sanchez on the television broadcast on Fox says he thinks that Robs adjusted the route because he saw open space. And if that ends up being the case here, Chew, I think that's another step in the evolution of them getting it, where they can, I'm supposed to go here. But if me and the quarterback are on the same page, we can get a big play, which is what they ended up doing here. We'll keep it kind of here on the slowed down motion. So this is, again, the game-winning touchdown for the Packers. Doubs working out of the slots, and he just throws up the hand.
Yeah. But it's clear, yes, it is an adjustment, but he's adjusting, which is nice. And, Doubs should be a little farther along in the game. He just adjusted because he knows he's got the guy beat.
Yeah.
Now, to me, it looks like he was supposed to be on the corner, which he eventually got there, but that's not how you traditionally run a quarter out. And it's a slant to the bottom. See, AJ, because he had 1 and 2. He had Doubs and/or Dillon wide open.
Well, because there seems to be some miscommunication about who's supposed to come out on Dillon. You see a linebacker running late, and I think that's what it ends up being almost a pick play where that linebacker gets the safety there, and Doubs just knows he's got a free run at the end zone because it ends up being not a planned pick play, but I think that kind of helps Doubs think that's how he's got to beat.
It's a great adjustment, but this is what we were talking about this week on our show. You give me 4 receivers that can play, which there's not a lot of separation between the 4 guys that they have that they really like. I'll take 4 guys that can play like that over 1 superstar and maybe 2 or 3 other guys that are just guys, because it's so dangerous to stop. It's so dangerous to stop. And that's why defensively they get confused, because every one of these guys are a threat now. But look at this thing next year or even the year down the road when they really got a grasp of this offense, the potential on how dangerous they could be.
Yeah, so I really like that play. I thought they had some good things offensively to build off of. The problem is one of those guys, Luke Musgrave, we know he's not playing on Thanksgiving. We know Aaron Jones is not playing. Who knows about Dontavian Wicks? And when somebody doesn't play like that, how much does that hamper the kind of progression, especially for rookies like Musgrave? I mean, Musgrave's going to be out for a while with the lacerated kidney. We don't know with Wicks dealing with a knee injury, might be in concussion protocol, might not be. Maybe he clears concussion protocol. But when you start building momentum, how tough is it then to sit and then pick up where you left off?
It's tough, and I'm sure you've heard the adage, next man up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's great for everyone to hear, but it's really not next man up. I mean, Kraft, even though he's showing potential that he could be pretty good, he's not Musgrave and he's not as far along in the game. It makes a difference, but it puts more stress on the guys that are going to be playing, because face it, twos, 3s, 4s, 5s are that for a reason. So the other guys are going to have to step it up. They're going to, have to play well. They got a very tough task against Detroit. So we'll just have to see what happens.
Always appreciate it, Chew. This has been episode 4 of the All 20 Chew. We'll be back next week breaking down some Packers versus Lions film.